kind of a little part 2. Start paint along from last night. Our model's Sam, Lady Long Limbs. You can see the photo reference below in the corner. Yes, Dave has a more straight on with no hands, which we can provide either a hard, more high resolution image. Just email us at woodburyhillstudio@gmail anytime, even if you're not watching live, if you want either reference, or you can get it on our Twitch page.
Yeah, so we thought we would just continue paintings that we started last night when we thought we were streaming live, but we weren't. We seem to work those issues out today. We hope. We're going to find out.
Yeah, last night was kind of a little tester with some stuff. And so if you paint along, tag us in it so we can see, and also maybe tag the model. I know she would love to see. And feel free to ask any questions in the comments on either platform that you're watching on. We'll make sure to keep an eye out for the whole time, and as well as our email.
Yeah, we're supposed to be streaming this on both YouTube and Twitch platforms. So it's up to you where you want to watch it, but feel free to comment on either one or subscribe on both also. That's kind of the thing, I guess. Trying to figure all this out as we go. But this isn't like the normal podcast thing that we're going to be doing.
These are more of our paint along, more fun, more informative, a little bit more focused on the painting than
the talking or the interviewing of the person.
So this is more for if you're interested in learning or wanting to see someone paint, or if you're an artist and you just want to kind of have a room to join in at and a place to kind of paint along with. That's what these paint-alongs are more set up for.
We hope to be doing a style later on where we're painting someone from life, and then we also talk to them sort of in an interview style and kind of find out a little bit about their story, or kind of why we're painting them, or what it is about them that drew us to that painting or whatever. It could just be friends of ours that that we find interesting, because we have some pretty cool buddies that we've met along the way, and that we're hoping to get them in front of the camera.
And tomorrow, the first 2, Dave did one of me this week, and then last week, this week, tomorrow morning, we will be doing one of these, but interviewing Dave. And the reason he didn't kind of mention that in that way, because he was explaining, talking to people we don't.
Yeah.
That we don't know why. Him and I were doing more of these as tester ones. And interview each other for the first 2, so we can kind of understand what both sides will be experiencing.
And then also to kind of introduce ourselves. That way you guys, everybody kind of gets a little background on us too. Definitely.
That's a great way of thinking it, but I didn't. Now, I'm starting a little bit further back than Dave. I kind of composed it a little weird last night, and I wasn't into it, and I just wasn't comfortable with where I put it, and it was too much work to fix it. It was not even too much work. It just wouldn't have fit and not looked right, and framing would have been weird, and this is one of those things you just gotta commit to just erasing. So I'm starting over. My drawing and stain that I'm using right now is crimson alizarin, olive green, and Indian yellow, and it kind of goes in that order for my mix. Usually do a little bit more Indian yellow this batch or more olive green, sorry, but this batch I have a little bit more alizarin in. And we're working in oils.
Yeah, that's usually the stain that we start off in, that pre-stain mixture, always to kind of get rid of the blaring white background.
And I think also what's cool about that mixture of those 3 colors is they add a lot of they'll stay there the whole time. They add a richness, a staininess, between the Indian yellow, alizarin, and that olive, all add a really transparent, sticky color, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it sort of already pre-contains the filth that is life.
Yeah, the patina, yeah.
So it helps in building up true skin tones because we all just wander through smog and all kinds of whatever on a daily basis, and we pick up this nastiness. So it reads true.
And
not that our model is or anything.
If you're just starting, we work. If you're working in oils, I mean, it works different if you're working in different mediums. But we work lean to fat, back to front, dark to light. But that's really different for stuff like oils and watercolors and different mediums. Yeah, so if that's what you're working in, some of our advice won't really apply. This is if you're working from my reference, and if you want to work from Dave's, you can tell because he's a little bit further along. The pose that she's in, if you want that one, just let me know. But if you're working from the one that I am, and that's shown on the page, and that's available on our website, it's really dynamic, and it's really slight little changes. That's kind of where I messed up a little bit last night, readjusting some stuff. Is that tilt in her face and her eyes. I guess you kind of have that slight tilt too, just in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you kind of know that too then. Never mind.
Yeah, barely tilt.
Yeah, just a slight little tilt, which are cool, which is nice. It helps, makes it look cooler.
It's dynamic.
Yeah.
Way. I had to do a lot of repositioning myself with her hair.
Yeah, with her ground zero, she doesn't have a lot of information, so it's like you just gotta make sure you measure correctly from there, since there's not a lot of dark information,
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember you saying earlier, you're like, oh, I keep feeling I did her eyes too big, but then once you kind of laid in that shadow and started getting some of the darkness around that whole shelf area, it kind of really put that area in.
It's a fun one. It's really dynamic. Yours is much more. I'm glad mine isn't more so. I don't have to deal with it. I'm about ready to start doing some back. Maybe mess around with that cast shadow over there on the side. That makes some fun. Every time these blinds over here move, I keep thinking it's the cat.
I know, me too.
Oh, buddy's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's coming in hot. It's Catterday. Looking at our little kitties coming in.
Yo, nope, he's just sleeping all day like usual.
see. I don't know if this helps at all. I'll bring it out here so you can see how big it is. There we go. Okay. Time to still gonna do a little adjustment.
A little more shape in.
Well, I didn't have this cast shadow from her hair there. There's this little open space between her neck and this braid. Oh, I like this kind of funky jazz blend that you were going with.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold off on doing my grays until I'm ready to, until I get my drawing a little further on, I think. Add a little this Indian yellow to the mix to try to get the glow in her blonde hair.
Yeah, she's got that really pretty, like, strawberry blonde.
Yay, so much fun.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of a UFC fight?
I don't know. Oh, in this?
No, on the, there was that Wiz and Friends.
Oh, okay.
It looked like they were watching a UFC fight almost.
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy how they're doing those now.
Yeah, where nobody's in the ring.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Comment below anything new that you've positively done because of COVID, like us doing this type of thing, or maybe learning something new. I don't know.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of people have been trying to do, at least how has it changed you? Changed in your daily routine and for.
Yeah. Anything that's been going on that you kind of discovered positively, things that you enjoy or whatever.
I'm starting to draw this. I kind of wanted to see if a character would come from this, and she kind of looks like she's turning into one of those little the hair right here kind of felt like a deer to me, like that ear, the shape I saw right here, and so I was like, maybe I'll make her kind of look into start turning her into a different kind of little half creature.
Yeah, like a character.
Yeah. Her hair kind of can just lend to a bunch of different storylines. Like I kept kind of at first seeing a little like desert, and now I kind of seeing like a little wood creature.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of just break off into that shape. roughly get this hand in, just measuring it up with where it lies on her face. And looks like the highest point of that hand is right about underneath that nose. Actually go in and put some of this like right behind this area to kind of reestablish that area. It's kind of losing that shape there, making her wide, a little wider than she needed to be. So I'm gonna just kind of go in there and line that area in real quick. Cut in where that hair. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with kind of making her into a little woods creature, a little fairy. Plus, what I love with this look, she kind of looks like she's looking over something, kind of like hunched over looking at something, you know? I love that kind of, has that wanderlust kind of look to it.
Oh no!
Did you just Pop-Tart your phone?
Yeah, I was going live on Instagram. I don't think it'll stay up. It kind of does.
That's funny.
I got an idea.
Now I'm going in and I'm just, now I kind of got it composed a little bit better. Got her in where I'm going to want her. Want to double check that composition before I go a little bit further. Make sure I can get in everything I want. That other hand. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, now I can go in and start reshaping that head shape and get that tilt in.
I won't probably be able to see anything because of where my camera's at.
Well, I'll look while you sit.
Right.
See. You can see mine, but not really yours.
Well, that's all right.
If you beep up your head out of the way here and there, you know.
Yeah.
Just reestablishing some of the lights and dark areas real quick and getting that shape in before I start laying in some of her facial structure shape.
I'm gonna mix up a little bit of gray now, just to drop in the cast shadow / background a little bit right now.
That's kind of what I was doing. I had a little bit of my darks and was putting a little.
So neutrals, as usual, are not as usual, but neutrals or grays are, complementary. I mix an initial pile of burnt sienna and cobalt blue. It makes it very dark, and then I lighten that up with a white plus one mixture of usually. I learned using white and manganese blue hue, which I still use occasionally if there's a little bit of green, but just a little bit of green in the face. But a lot of times now I'll actually separate my white plus one pile into two piles of white plus like a lavender mixture, and then a white plus a yellow ochre pale mixture. And that way I've kind of got a warm and cool version of white to lighten up my piles, I guess you could say, instead of just adding straight white, because I was always taught to use white plus one as a rule when mixing oil paints.
Oh, okay. Your phone just fell when you got up.
Maybe I need to stuff it into the toaster.
Yeah.
I'm literally gonna have to.
That's hilarious. Make sure if you're, at least with me, to break that hairline and don't, it's a very solid shape when you generally look at it, and what you should do is usually just kind of draw a basic shape. But with this one, try to break it a little bit, or else you're going to have just almost a bowl on her head if you just try to just do it shape, and it won't look right. So I'm just going in and kind of breaking some of that area so my eye's not so
I'm going to bring this
distracted.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no. You're fine. You're going to bring it over there.
Yeah, just so people can see the painting.
Yeah.
I don't know where to bring it.
You've committed too far, huh? Here, put it right here.
Too far. No, I've got to plug it in. Sorry, everybody. I know you're all over our house, our kitchen, seeing me charging my phone.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so I'm just going to go in and just break some of that general area, just so my eye's not fighting that. Because when I did just go into laying that general shape, kind of bowled it off, and I'm just going to go in and kind of just break some of that hair right now, and kind of drag it into some of these spots that's going to be, and just get it a little looser.
I hope that stays. I need type. Do you have white?
White titanium? Yeah.
I don't have to walk around and make my phone fall over again.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know where it went.
What?
Hope you guys are all doing well too. I saw somebody comment that we were doing all right. It's good to see you all. Oh, this is Winton. We need to get new light, I guess.
Oh, that's Winton too?
Yeah, Windsor and Newton.
Oh shit, hold on. Here's regular. Wait, why are they all Winton?
Probably because it's just white. No biggie.
They all
Continue. I interrupted you. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Alright.
So I'm just going in and kind of reestablishing some of the shape before I go in, and I think Dave's starting to get into flesh, right? Or
no,
I'm doing grace.
Yeah, I'm going to do a background, so I'm going to do mix the neutral, the cool cast shadow in the background behind her.
Yeah.
I'm mixing that color right now to kind of cover the background.
That's what I was starting to get into to kind of shape her in.
Yeah, and then I'll start doing some some neutrals in her face, and then some midtones.
Oh yeah, you already explained the cobalt and burnt sienna.
Yeah, feel free to talk about it some more if you like. I mean, you could use, for neutrals, like to start out with a neutral, you could use I always just consider it anything that's a complementary of anything. Like if you're using a cool, if you're starting out with a cool, use a warm or whatever's opposite on the color wheel. Like if burnt sienna is basically orange, a darker orange, and then cobalt, a kind of a darker blue. Mm-hmm. So orange and blue are kind of complementary of each other. So you mix those together and you get they neutralize each other. That's why. Never mind, I'm not going to get into all that. But in a light spectrum, that's what's happening, is you're kind of canceling out things, which causes like this crazy neutralization that goes down. And I think that's kind of the key of painting.
It's constantly balancing that without making, that's that, I think where that term not making mud it comes from, is keeping that contrast and balance, like clean and purposeful instead of just constantly like.
Yeah, because Hustler, when he taught, what he taught was, there was a point where Bob Ross was no longer doing his program, and there was someone else doing it, sort of a similar program. And I asked what the opinion of Michael was about that, and he said that, and it was an interesting point, that he didn't like just watching somebody add white to add a highlight or to highlight something, but rather maybe roll around in temperature more. You know, instead of, so if you're highlighting a cheek that's really warm with a lot of pink, maybe you drop in a soft gray, like a cool neutral, you know, one that's rolled over towards the lavender or bluish side, like a steel blue kind of color. And it'll stand out more, but it's still the same value, I guess you could say, you know, as far as light and dark. It's not lighter, it's just a different temperature, so that'll stand out. And I always thought that was interesting, and probably why a lot of his paintings are so much more successful than a lot of other people that are trying to copy his work.
Or or people that try to really play with the spectrum of white.
Yeah.
And what that means.
Yeah.
Because like you said,
he's a master of white.
Yeah.
So. I always just thought white came out of the tube, and that's how you used it. But not so much. What was I mixing there? Oh.
Your grace.
Get so switch out and forget. What are you looking for, my love?
I was looking for my big, this version of this, but this one will work. I had it last night. I must have just put it somewhere weird.
It might be underneath something.
Yeah.
I thought I saw it over there further. It's probably underneath something. It got kind of messy. Oh,
just doing a quick little soft blur.
If anybody's watching on Instagram Live, it looks a lot better, and it's actually a lot nicer of a stream on YouTube, or we have a channel under Woodbury Hill Studio, all one word, Woodbury Hill Studio, WOODBURYHILL Studio, on YouTube Live, and then also on Twitch, we're streaming live at the same time, worldwide. So, no, if you wanted to see it on there, there's probably a better angle, and you can see the painting up close.
Better audio, too.
Yeah, probably a little bit better audio. Not that that matters too much on a paint-along this time. But we're also, like I said, we're going to be doing a podcast-style one of these, where we're still painting. Brittany's going to paint me tomorrow, but she's also going to practice, because it's kind of our practice run, but it's also a way to introduce ourselves to you guys, of interviewing, so that we can kind of tell our stories, and you can see if you want to listen in or not. Here we go. And there is a little bit of truth to the rule of using the size brush of the area you're going to cover. Kind of try to match that.
Keep your temperatures the same.
Yeah.
That's always a nice thing with the brushes.
Yeah. Try to use a separate brush for a separate temperature as well. Hmm. What? Oh, when you laughed, I was like, what is Sean Durf on there? You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting him to be on it, like, you know?
That's usually about what it is.
He's so funny.
I'm just gonna go in. I'm just doing I'm gonna be going a little bit towards where Dave's at in a minute. I'm just going in and locking in a little bit more of my landmarks, my darks, and my lights real quick before I get into my grays. Make sure everything's kind of measured up correctly. And if anyone would ever like to model for these, or participate like a little bit more, like we'll open Zoom rooms prior to these, and anyone wants to join, just hit us up ahead of time, or let us know if you've missed this one and you're watching this, later on. Hit us up now, and we'll contact you when we do our next one, and we can be in the same room, maybe chat a little bit more.
Yeah, and we'll get better at talking more during them too. That part we're learning. Tough, give us a break. I realized her little buns were a little taller in the top. I had to grow her face, or I did, not intentionally earlier. It actually works that way. Light right.
Yeah, she's got a really cool nose, and there's also a lot of like cool lighting on it on the tip. I love that.
That sounded just like it was going to be little dude.
I know.
Okay. Some of this back. Oh, what am I doing? I meant to do that in my brush, but I can do it with this, I guess.
shadows in.
Oh, yeah.
Skin tone's really pretty to paint. It's got like this like nice cool and creaminess in some spots, and then like really warm, soft.
It's so crazy because that's how he comes through. He just our cat bashes through these blinds that are right next to me, and I keep hearing them because of the wind. I keep thinking he's coming in looking for food. And I'm like a Jewish mother when it comes to him eating.
Yes.
So I'm always ready to jump up and feed him.
Cat's gonna be a big ball one day.
Yeah. He's just gonna roll around. He's not gonna actually cruise around.
He's actually really healthy. He's a little fatty though.
Yeah, he is. Controversy. Sorry, I don't think that's the song. Is that the song? Oh, it is Prince. Yes, it is Controversy. We can't let you hear it because then YouTube will shut us down. So you don't get to hear the Controversy play. It's very controversial. Alright. I guess it's time to stop. Well, that didn't work out so hot.
I put it too far down. I forgot to put it back over here.
Oh, you gotta lift up that back one.
Yeah, tighten it.
I would push it against it in the top one as well.
Hold on.
What you been doing? That was a disaster almost.
It's because I scooted it this way for when I was going to have my phone here, and I was like, oh, that's just silly. I'll put it somewhere else. Well, sorry if that was really loud. My apologies. She's got these beautiful, I don't know on your, oh, you don't have it as much. These really, really, really cool shadows on her neck. The color of them are really pretty. They're like these, like, see, look.
Oh, yeah.
It's really fun.
Wow,
cool color.
There's a gang of them.
Yeah. Really pretty.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm starting to mix my midtones pile up, and what I'll do is I'll mix it really close to my neutral and background color pile so I can include that in the skin tones because it all matters. It's all there. Blur. It's all there. In the skin, like it's all reflecting off of her skin, so it should technically all be there. Some of the background, everything's in everything. It's kind of the way it's
reality is.
Yeah. I don't know if you could see it, but I have a sort of a lighter darker. But it's kind of a mid. It's not really cool. It's not really warm. It's kind of neutral, but it's sort of my grayish, which I borrowed a little bit over here. I had a pile of some of this gray flesh that I mixed up. I figure I could tilt it one way or the other relatively easy, so I'm using it as sort of my bridge between my neutrals and grays, because I got to still do those in the face. I've only done the ones in the background. So in the flesh tones, I've got to still do my grays or neutrals, which I'm going to sort of mix up too. And I'm going to use some of that cool background neutral that I mixed up to do the neutral side of the face as well. It's probably a little too dark.
Yeah, it's like a very light shadow, but they're defined shadows, but it's not very saturated. They're very dark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use some of the shadow I'm using for that warm in her hand. Because they're kind of picking up that same light in that same area. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that for that same kind of cast shadow that's being hit on the right cheek.
It's so crazy, like how much I
Feel sensitive to that.
Yeah. So I've done sort of a weird pair of neutrals. Wanted to touch warmer for her neck. Might even warm it up a little bit more, even though it's not really there in the image, but I might just do it to kind of separate those two a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just going to get some paint up here right now.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm trying to just group together my shadows and lock in that area, because a lot of what's gonna for this particular pose, if you're gonna use one I'm using, is that neck. You got to get all those shadows in that hand and that whole area to kind of show that how she's pushing out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how it's kind of
shoved. tufts of her hair along the side of her cheeks. Kind of help build that shape in. What's nice is that stain. I love with our stain. It's a perfect base for blondes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess any kind of hair tone actually, because it has a lot of that same.
Yeah.
Because you can just add or subtract whatever.
Yeah, roll it back and forth for the blonde. Yeah, and a lot of the gray works too, as like a mid for blonde.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, that greeny, gray, bluey. You know, when it starts getting to that mucky color of blonde, when it's not lit. Turn her kind of into a little fairy creature, so I might turn into like those little deer. What do they do? Little nose.
Fawns.
Fawn. There we go.
I think they're like a little fairy tale type thing.
Yeah. She just kind of has that look.
Mm-hmm. And this one I've warmed up a bunch of my gray, and I'm just doing the cast shadows underneath the hair, underneath her bangs. It's like super warm underneath there. Over on one side of her head, it's very warm. She looks so colorful right now, and even though this picture's so washed out in neutrals.
She's really not, though. That's what it's like. Once you really start looking at her, she's got this really, really beautiful, rich and cool and
all over.
Yeah, it's very on that like floral pastel fleshy spectrum. I think that's where a lot of that whimsicalness that I started wanting to do came in from,
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put a bunch of like this warm color underneath here so that when I lay the flesh over the top of it, it'll pick it up. Mm-hmm.
away for a second, my love. And then we'll switch off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Sit down.
Still applying grays. There's so much shadow in her face that you just keep doing it, and you just keep trusting what you see, even though the color may look funky to you at first. Like if you see the beginnings of all of these paintings, they look so weird because the color just doesn't make sense until you start laying in other ones with it. So kind of just gotta trust the process, I guess. Mm. Now, with females, when you're painting a female face, I say this all the time, but I can't say it enough, it seems like. The more information that you put in a female face, the more transitions in color, the more lines, the more whatever. Because some people are very, very into how much they pay attention to those details and how much they nail all those transitions identically. And that works really well in tattooing, I guess you could say. Maybe. Mostly I've seen it be successful as a method of doing it. Because I've seen stencils that, like, the master Nico Hurtado at tattooing, his stencils are insane, and he uses that information like nobody else. But for a lot of people, if you're not as good as that, or if that's not your normal way of doing things or whatever, that doesn't translate always to paintings as well. Because the more information you put into a female's face, the more masculine she looks. So I try to eliminate, but I do transition like between warm and cool. I try to maintain all the rules.
Well, and I'll still do the same transitions. I'll just soften them more because regardless of what you see in person, they look rougher in a two-dimensional surface.
Yeah.
So I'll like you said, still have that color and the transition, and everything, just a softer effect of it.
Yeah, and like Natalia Fabia said during her paint along the other night too, like a great point that she always brings up that I forget, and it was never put to me like directly even, was that when you put nostrils in, like if you were to paint someone's nostrils as dark as you see them in the image, or as specifically as you see them, it draws the eye to it. When you draw a super dark spot in a painting, it draws people's attention to that spot.
Regardless of how dark it is in reality.
Yeah, like if you're looking at the photo, yeah, you see it, and your kind of eye just glazes over it like no big deal. But it is a big deal, and it'll read funky in your painting sometimes. It almost makes people look pig-nosed or whatever. It makes their nostrils look too large. And it just draws attention away from, what could be other information in the painting that you're wanting to express more so. Like someone telling us that our thing's not working.
No. More my darks I went through as I had a dark vial mixed already, but a little bit more. Just the burnt sienna and cobalt. I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the cobalt, just because there's a lot of cools. Even though like she appears warm, there's she's got way more cool in her than you would think at first glance.
Mm-hmm. Much more. The warm stands out because it's highlighted by the contrast.
Cool. Yes, exactly. And you realize, like, oh, that's what's making that warmth more pronounced. Yeah, definitely. That's the really cool thing about painting. You start kind of learning things like where before you would have saw someone, you're like, oh, you don't necessarily think, but your brain processes and understand. Oh, that person has more like a red fleshy tone, like they're more red, or they're more, people with olive, or more like mahogany, or more pale.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these different terms are always just so simple. These like weird variations that are all the same. They're just tilted and leaned and swayed different directions, but it's all
relevant.
A lot of the same.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's. Oh yeah, that's the crazy part is it lets you know how much we're all really the same.
Yeah, it's just, and even in facial structure, everything. It's just these minute tilts, very very little tilts. That's what we were talking about the other night. I don't know if we end up deleting it, but and if we did, I want to make it or say it again. It's a good point that. Wait.
Did I not give it back to you?
No, I found it. Okay. That's a very interesting point. Like that's why likenesses are so important because it's so minute the changes. It shows how same we really are. Because the tiniest thing is what makes a likeness.
Yeah.
Can you open this one when you have a chance? I'll hold your brushes if you need. Oh, that one just easier to open?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you look over?
Yes, you do. I will.
And tomorrow we'll have a paint along and interview with Dave, like we said in the beginning. I'll make sure a few hours ahead of time to have the image available on Twitch. And if you're watching now or later, you can email us at woodburyhillstudio@gmail if you like that reference. Or if you want to be like on FaceTime or Zoom with us while we paint, let us know. That's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, we're going to try to do these as often as possible.
Looking for Frontier? Hi, we're Simply Fiber. We bought Frontier so we could invest $500 million to create a more powerful network. Visit simplyfiber.com to learn more about the Northwest's newest, fastest, and most reliable internet company.
She's got like piercing blue eyes, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I'm just like avoiding just getting into them because they're just so like like
You're gonna be there for a minute. That is very that never actually gonna be fun.
And if you paint along, tag us or email us as you go or when you're done.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see, see
Yeah.
what you guys' progress is as well.
And feel free, just to use this reference as that's kind of what we also like, is that people can just paint along and have a reference. I know sometimes with painting you just need, like.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't have access.
And you just don't want to
Or
keep,
don't
or
have
you
any-
just don't want to keep taking, just like
Right,
using
you
whatever
don't
you see.
search other people's stuff.
Yeah.
You
These
know.
are all ours that we take with the models.
And we are, we're sending the model something as well, just to make sure that everybody's taken care of. But like,
Make sure to tag them if you do
yeah,
paint
that's always
along.
cool.
Yeah. This is Sam, Lady Longlegs. Limbs.
On IG.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Instagram, Lady Longlimbs. This is her.
She's a great model for photography and art. So if you're ever looking for models, she's great. Easy to work with, really nice. I believe she's in Nashville. I'm just going back in and reestablishing some of my darks before I get out of my grays and into my mid-tones. Oh, that's beautiful, my love.
I'm just having fun. I'm just getting
That's
so much
great.
paint up on here.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, this is so much fun. This one.
Yeah.
Such a great little reference too. I mean, I know it's like looking wild as whatever. I'll soften it up.
Well, that's what's cool about these kind of references. The ones that you have to hone in and you have to, because the buns and the bangs and everything make a very,
dynamic shot.
Yes, there we go. That's the word. And you got to remember to keep them loose.
Yep.
Or else you'll look like Lloyd Christmas. Just real talk. Like any hairdo like that, if you go straight line, you'll Lloyd Christmas it.
What's Lloyd Christmas?
From Dumb and Dumber.
Oh my God.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Jesus. You're gonna Lloyd Christmas it. I like that. I almost want to leave her these stark changes. It's
Yeah, they're really
fun
cool.
this way, yeah.
That bold.
No, bring it back around.
Some of my mids. And I did a lot of pools, actually, like a lot of pools. Even on my warms, they're very cool warms, if that makes any sense. So on my mid and starting to build, I'm going to go on the warmer side to contrast that. But I'm going to kind of turn her into a character, so I'm going to play with what I'm seeing and push it a little bit further, or a little bit more. So the colors that I'm seeing, I'm just going to kind of amp them up a little.
Yeah, that's what's fun. Like pushing.
Pushing what I'm seeing, just a little bit more, adding, just saturating it. Or whatever, I don't know. That's the thing, I'll learn vocabulary about.
Well, that's a big part of this stuff, is that not everybody knows it all of a sudden. Not everybody's going to school and learning all that kind of crap, or knowing that they're going to want to paint later and to go learn all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not really necessary, though. I mean, if you're trying to express it to others, yeah, I guess so. But just put it in the most simplest terms you can, where everybody can relate.
Yeah.
So I try to do. Maybe you don't feel left out. You don't speak art school
Lingo. That's why I think a lot of that headiness came from, and it turned heady. But it was just because there wasn't kind of the actual vocabulary they could use. You know, they didn't know the actual word. They could just kind of express it different ways. And all of a sudden now it's just heady terminology, you know?
Well, I kind of get it. I get what it is, because like a lot of people go to art school and then they get out of art school and then they gotta go find a job, and so the only way to keep the job is to keep it elite.
Yeah.
To keep everybody from doing it. So then, therefore, there's no reason to have someone teaching it.
Yeah.
If everybody can just find the information.
System or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but this whole COVID shit changed all that. It made it to where people just, that's the way it's gonna be, yo.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it just made it not so weird where people were like, oh, yeah, you could just sit and learn other ways. And, like you said, not be so like you have to go to college. You can reach out to other artists that you want to
just everybody
interact
just
with.
paint. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
just get along and paint and make cool shit. And then we're all going to learn in the meantime somehow.
Just doing some quick establishing my highest highlights real quick, and then gonna establish some of my, or reestablish my darks and really get those in, and just kind of not fully do all my highlights, but just kind of bookmark some of my highest highlights so I keep them there and you're not constantly going back and forth. Sometimes I'll do that, like, oh man, I feel like I've repainted that too many times, you know?
Mm-hmm. So great. Such a great model.
Yeah, she really is a great model.
Fine model. Thank you, Lady Longlimbs. This is
Fun.
great shots. You did a great job.
Yeah, so it was so quick too. I was like, I could have
10
kept.
minutes.
Yeah, and I was like, I could have kept going, but I was like, I feel like I don't want to waste someone's time if I'm like, I got it. Now I'm just like, you know, at that point it would just be overkill. And I was just like, I got it. The shot you're working at is first shot.
First shot of the whole set. I know. That's what's so dope about it. Because she wasn't really ready, it looks like, too.
But that was what was great. She just has that natural look.
Kind of in
that's
a
just like,
spot.
yeah. But it's funny because the first few shots you battled with, you just like the first one because it had that.
It had that, like, not ready, just standing
almost
there.
Surprised.
Yeah.
Almost surprised, but slightly ready. Like.
But it's almost defiant.
Yeah.
In the way she's standing. I love that.
Yeah.
I love when people are defiant.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's a very raw, real image. It's great. Got the bracelet.
I'm not even
you just
trying
can't
to yet.
because he's just
not
obsessive
once
you get there.
Like, I'll be stuck there. Yeah, you can see I've been slowly like working my way, not even wanting to mess with the nose yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything.
No, she's just got such great features that you don't want to just overdo it and get too like
I'll
into
get
it. You
locked
got to
up
remember
once
to
I
like
start.
spread around. And if you're painting along, remember that too, because I'm sure if us two are feeling that way, there's
a temptation to want to jump into the cool, fun stuff to paint. You know,
because she's
those
got a
really
lot of
awesome features that she has.
Yeah, she's got stuff that you want to just go.
Don't jump the shark. Don't be the Fonz. Don't jump the shark and start painting everything that you shouldn't out of line.
Keep everything in the same world as you're going. Don't. Yeah, exactly. Don't jump the shark. Work back to front, dark to light. Note that. And if you're working from my reference, keep remeasuring because it does have. Oh, I guess with Dave too, both. There's a slight tilt, so keep that remeasuring and remeasuring on mind. She reminds. What's that one character? Everyone always knows it's the redhead from Fifth Element. She reminds me of like a more feistier version of it, like the feisty version.
Yeah, Mia Jovovich. I can see that totally.
It's just got that feeling you're painting, but kind of the more tough because she was all timid and like.
Yeah, she was all scared at first.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's on.
I have 15 seconds remaining. Maybe we could
Yeah, I'm going to break.
Yep. I'll just let that in right there. And we're gonna do a quick break. We'll probably come back in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna just do a quick break. And then we'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll come back and continue.
Okay.